Hi guys, in this video we will estimate the area under a curve of a trig function. So here we have to estimate the area between this trig function right here, 2 minus cosine of 2x, and the x-axis, but only for the interval between 0 and pi, 0 and pi right there. So we're going to use 4 rectangles of equal width and right endpoints. So good thing in this question right here, we already have the graph. But even if you don't have the graph, you would be able to come up with that main idea from this video. So we have 4 endpoints. So we're going to look at this, 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 and this. So to the right endpoint right there. Okay, so we have 4 rectangles right there. So before we can even do anything, before we start, we need to figure out the width of each rectangle. Now, the previous video, we were talking about just 1 unit. So if the x-axis right here was going by ones, then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the width would have been 1. But notice that this time your x-axis is going by quarter of pi. So the width of each rectangle is right there, pi over 4 or quarter of a pi. Okay, so we decided that. Now, we need to decide what we're going to do, and we're going to put everything in the calculator. So that's the easiest thing. So go to y equals, plug that in. The one thing you need to make yourself a little note, your mode needs to be in radian, because these angles right here, they're radian, not degree. So when you graph, you actually have the cosine shape of the function. Let's say that you forgot and you have your calculator right there in degree. And when you look at this line, you're like, wait a minute, there's something wrong with it. That should be an indicator that you are not in the right mode. So go ahead and change that to radian, and you will be back to the graph that was supposed to be. I want to see my graph a little zoomed in, but instead of just zooming in, I want to set up the window the way I want it to be. So I go window, and then x minimum, I want it to be 0. X maximum, I want it to be pi. And the x scale, I want it to be like my graph really is. So pi over 4. Pi over 4. The y, I just want to give anywhere between 1 and 5, even though I don't need it to be that much. But I just don't want it to be too small that I can't see. So this is what I have right there. So this is 0, this is pi, and each one of these represent pi over 4. So pi over 4, pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, and then pi right there. Okay, now I need to find these points right there. So I'm going to keep track of f of pi over 4, f of pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, and pi. Okay, you have 2 ways. One way is to go through the table, but your table is not going by every pi over 4. So you can change the table, but it's not really user-friendly. I would go from the graph and I would trace. So pi over 4, and it will give you the y value right there. So for pi over 4, I get 2. Pi over 2, I get 3. 3 pi over 4, I get 2 again. And pi, I get 1. Okay. Now if I add them all up, 8. Now that's great, but that would be if the width of each rectangle was 8, but it's not. It's pi over 4. So you can multiply each one of those by pi over 4 to find each one of these areas. So if I get this one as being 2 times pi over 4, because pi over 4 is the width and 2 is the height of this rectangle. When I simplify, I get the area of this one as just pi over 2. This one is 3 times pi over 2. So, and then I get not pi over 2, pi over 4, because that's the width. So this area right here is 3 pi over 4. The next one, it's the same as this one. So 2 times pi over 4. The area is pi over 2. And this one is 1 times pi over 4. So just pi over 4. Now I will add it all up right here. So pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, pi over 2, and pi over 4. So these are all my areas. 1 over 2, 3 over 4, 1 over 2, 1 over 4. So I get 2 pi. So the area under this curve will be 2 pi. And you're like, no, this is too much for my little brain. That's okay. So here's the other way. The other way, you can just put it in the calculator. So if you know each one of these areas are being multiplied by pi over 4. So you can just do 8, or each one of these areas multiplied by pi over 4. Okay, because that's the width. So pi over 4 right there times 8, and I will just put it in the calculator. Pi over 4 times 8 will give you the same 6.28. And if you know 2 pi is just that. So if you want your answer to be in decimals, that's what you have, 2 decimal places right there. And if you want your answer to be in terms of pi, that's your answer right there in terms of pi. And that's it for now.